So here we are in a London Crown Court, and you're smoking some sort of roll-up here. What's going on? Tell us about your thoughts about court today.
There's two sides. There's your inner sense of justice and dealing with your own life, and then there's bumping into this outer world of judgment. The feeling of being in court is very disempowering. You're represented by someone else. You're not allowed to speak. The only thing you're allowed to say is guilty. You listen to people who don't know your life story saying incorrect facts about your life story, telling that you're living somewhere else, that your boat is somewhere else than where it should be. They're all mixed up with loads of different paperwork things from different stages, going back months and months and months. I've now been told that I have to sleep in a house that I used to live in 3 years ago, that I don't live in anymore, and yet I'm going to have to break my bail conditions for the next 3 weeks because the conditions are just wrong. I can't go and stay in someone else's house that I don't pay rent in just because a judge has misheard things, or barristers weren't well read enough of the case to know where it is that I actually live. It's quite peculiar. But in my own sense, I now have to meet a probation officer, and they have to find out more about me and make a decision as to what kind of community service I could do. Estimate 60 to 100 hours of community service over the next year, maybe. Well, that's all just living in the world stuff. I don't mind doing community service, that's what life is. But overall, the system is heartless.
Yeah, that's a big one, isn't it?
It's a system of an antichrist. This is the same court which Christ was condemned to death in. And it's the same system that's still in place despite 2,000 years of a new dispensation on the earth of turn the other cheek and work together and do good to others. But I can't see any good being done to me apart from what work I've put into learning from the experience myself. The experience hasn't helped me in any way whatsoever. It's only made me more radical. It's only made me more convinced that the status quo in society is way off key. I've no wish to come back to courts. I've learned enough about courts. There's nothing much you can do in a court apart from enter into lies. There's a lot of awareness could be raised about court, about the history of where court and legal systems come from. Justice, just ice.
What's just ice?
Justice.
Yeah, explain what you mean though by that.
Well, the two words just break into just ice.
Right.
Frozen. Frozen traumas back in time. Eventually they end up in courts, and someone who knows nothing about your case whatsoever and knows nothing about you makes judgments which fully affect your life. There's no truth came up in the court case there today at all. Just what they call facts, but those facts aren't correct. Prosecution makes out the worst possible piece of storytelling they can possibly do from whatever may have happened on the day. What was said about me there in court today is not true.
Why did you choose not to record audio? Because there's no signs that say you can't record audio. Or at least ask them whether you can, please do that.
There are many things that I could have done before this court case, which would challenge the law, or at least open it up a little bit. But in many ways, spiritually, I can't see anything but inviting more trouble on myself.
Right.
To make an exhibit out of my case about something that's a much bigger picture.
Right.
And all that'll happen is my case will get smacked around.
Right.
But the bigger picture wouldn't particularly change. To change something so big and so old and so powerful and so much in control, something that's backed up by police and army and bailiffs and social workers and everyone, jails. To change that system, we're all going to have to think a lot deeper. That the justice system is based on slavery seems pretty obvious to me, and there's historical evidence for that. Rather than arguing in court among people who won't understand what I'm talking about, even if they did understand, they won't admit it. If I was to say to the judge, have you got your oath here, and are you defending me or are you defending the legal system? He's not going to want to answer that question in the first place, and if I press the point harder and harder, it's going to make him upset, and then he'll write things in his piece of paper and hand me to a different judge who'll just read those things in the pieces of paper, which would probably say that I was in contempt of court or something just for asking a question. And a very relevant question. Are you defending me and my liberty, or are you defending the court system? Well, we all know that they're defending the court system, and the court system has told itself that it's defending people's liberties. But we all know that people's liberties aren't really defended. Property is defended and status is defended. I got severely traumatized by those police that arrested me. Hugely outnumbered, treated with great roughness, disrespect, and then called smelly. So, like in any concentration camp or like in any interrogation place or in any police incident, that I was traumatized and driven to a breaking point, and I broke and I spat in his face, surrounded by 7 officers with handcuffs on me. No, I lost control of myself in that sense. I fell into their darkness.
Are you going to tell this to the court when you come back
No.
in a few weeks' time? Why?
Because, for one thing, the court won't give me a chance to speak it unless I make
I think they will.
breakages.
They'll ask you about it. Or you may just want to say, just tell them about it.
As far as I know,
In a
because I've pleaded guilty today, I don't get to say anything else other than thank you when they give me my community service or whatever punishment I'm given. The only thing that's left for me
I'm
to
not
say
sure
in the
about that.
system is to say thanks.
I'm not so sure about that. I would check that out. I think it might be helpful for you to say in the humble way in which you've said to me, and just very, that this is your experience, and maybe even say to the judge, look, I don't know what you would do in that situation. I don't know what you would do, but I didn't. I felt so traumatized by what was going on that that's all I could think of doing. And I didn't hurt anybody. And I was being hurt. And, I'm not saying that you're going to change the system by saying that, but...
So what would I change by saying that, Danny? Change myself? Be interesting for somebody's day at work for a few minutes?
I don't know. You have to decide whether to do it or not.
What makes most sense to me out of all of this, to turn dark clouds into silver linings?
I mean, I guess this film and this filming and making films about it, perhaps that's more powerful, putting this out to people who can actually hear what you have to say, and even judges and lawyers and barristers who watch this now outside of their workplace. I would suspect that it will get to their heart when they perhaps understand a bit more. So perhaps you can make a longer short film about the case and about your experience.
Yeah.
Maybe that would be more powerful.
There is something tasty in this.